many, many years ago, in fact, probably a couple of hundred or so years ago, the UK had a king called Alfred. Alfred wasn't brilliant with the oven, and he certainly didn't produce exceedingly good cakes, to quote a well-known catchphrase of one of the UK's modern cake makers, shall we say. Here was a typical example of one of King Alfred's cakes, represented here by the fungi Daldinia concentrica. They get worse than this, they get more King Alfred-like, and I'll show you one here in a minute. But he was famous for burning his cakes, and this fungi here, when it goes completely back, it looks just as though it's been on the barbecue for about a week. But there are a number of beetles which are associated with Daldinia here, or King Alfred's cakes. At least something likes to eat them. And I've just found one, and it's something really special. It's a weevil. It's a weevil that feeds on King Alfred's cakes. Strange tastes some of the UK's beetles have. Well, here's the kind of cake that I would make. Here's one of King Alfred's. Far too overdone, completely gone now, and they do look as though they've been burnt. But this one is fairly new, fairly young, as are the two that I've already showed you. But that's how these go, just as though they have been burnt, hence the name King Alfred's cakes. And underneath this presently out of focus piece of bark is the beetle that specialises in King Alfred's cakes. This is the wonderful weevil, Platyrhinus resinosus. It's a fabulous thing, and I've been after finding one of these for a while. In fact, there were two under here, and I'm hoping that this one does stay and allow us a good look at this species, because it really is fabulous. It's one of the beetles that I first learnt to identify and probably started to get me interested in beetles many years ago now at Eton. The head end is towards the left. You can see a large eye there. But the shape of the head is almost horse-like. It's got a very flat-fronted head, quite broad, but it's a marvellous thing. I'm trying to get you at a more of a head-on angle. I don't want to disturb it too much. It is a fairly cool day, but I don't think it would take too long for this one to warm up. But you can see the strange flat shape to the head. Right at the very left are two dark mandibles. This is one of those beetles that is a photographer's dream, and throughout the course of this video I will be putting in photographs. But Platyrhinus resinosus can often be found under loose bark, especially near to King Alfred cakes. May look a strange and horrible thing to many people, but once this one's dried out, it is a little bit damp through all the rain that we've had. They are absolutely beautiful. But what a strange looking beetle. There's a little bit more head on, and you can see what a strange beetle this is. It's very well camouflaged in most situations, especially under bark. It is very, very well camouflaged, but occasionally you can find these crawling around on vegetation, but most often they are very close, sometimes on or indeed inside King Alfred's cakes. And that's what this particular individual will be looking for once it becomes warm enough for it to become active. Fabulous things, aren't they? One of those faces I suppose only a mother or another Platyrhinus resinosus could love. But I do. I love them. It's a beetle. It's not particularly rare, but it's one of those that you maybe only come across Well, at least I only come across it maybe once or twice a year, but I sometimes do go a couple of years without seeing one of these beauties. And there is a similar species too, but this is Platyrhinus resinosus, sometimes called the cramp ball fungus weevil or something daft like that. Platyrhinus resinosus sounds far better to me. If when you first see one of these beetles, it is like today and quite damp and this beetle is wet, there is movement there, but as it dries out, that sort of black area, or at least what appears black, certainly reflects a little bit of the blue from the blue sky that we have today, but it isn't totally black. There is an element of blue to it. But isn't it just an absolute fabulous beetle? One of the strangest beetles that we have here in the UK, and it's certainly a favourite of mine because, as I mentioned earlier, Platyrhinus resinosus here is probably one of the beetles that got me interested in beetles and took me away from birds. It's been a joy to see one of these again. It's a beetle that I always love to see and say it's one of those that you don't come across very often. But if you wanted to eat King Alfred's burnt offerings, chances are you'll come face to face with this chap.